Every so often, a UFO sighting occurs that is more interesting for what it tells us about our own government than for what it tells us about the UFO itself. The UFO event over Chicago's O'Hare Airport in 2006 is one such example. The short encounter was rather unremarkable as UFO sightings go, but the reaction of the airline and the FAA was anything but ordinary, suggesting some type of cover-up between the implicated authorities. What's more, the sighting reminds us that even nearly 40 years after the US government disavowed all responsibility for investigating UFOs, there are still many parties secretly involved in keeping UFO activity out of the public eye. The incident at O'Hare Airport occurred on the afternoon of November 7, 2006, beginning at approximately 4:15 p.m. At least 12 personnel with United Airlines, managers, runway crew, and pilots, noticed a dark gray metallic disc hovering above the United Airlines gate. It was estimated to be at least 22 feet in diameter, and it hovered an estimated 1,500 feet off the ground, below a heavy cloud cover at 1,900 feet. One grounded pilot announced his sightings over radio, alerting a taxi mechanic and several other pilots to the presence of the object. At least 2 grounded pilots were able to lean out their cockpit windows and observe the object in great detail. A manager at United Airlines caught word of the sightings and ran outside to see the object for himself. He then contacted the FAA and went out onto the concourse to join the other witnesses. Between 5 and 15 minutes after the earliest sighting, the object suddenly propelled itself directly upwards, piercing the clouds above and leaving a clearly defined hole in its wake. Witnesses could see blue sky through the opening before the wind gradually closed it in again. The story of the O'Hare UFO went almost completely unnoticed until the Chicago Tribune published an article on it on New Year's Day 2007, nearly 2 months after the fact. The online version became the highest-hitting article in the website's history. Other news outlets picked up the story as well, and Jon Hilkevitch, a transportation reporter with the Chicago Tribune, started interviewing witnesses. Initially, both the FAA and United Airlines denied any knowledge of the event, but were forced to admit that this was a lie when an audio tape was leaked to the press that captured a United Airlines radio conversation on the date of the event. The tape records an airline supervisor, identified as Sue, asking several controllers at O'Hare if they had seen a flying disc over gate C-17. They initially laughed off the question, but she called back 15 minutes later to confirm that several pilots had seen the disc, and that one had captured a photograph of it. Unfortunately, this alleged photograph has never surfaced. The tape also records the control tower operators warning outgoing planes of the UFO and advising them to use caution. Even in the wake of the tape leak, United Airlines and the FAA continued to brush off the incident. Still, the airline prohibited any employees from discussing the incident with media. However, after the Chicago Tribune article compelled them to address the situation, a spokesperson from the FAA claimed that the alleged disc was nothing but the reflection of airport lights off the low cloud cover. The explanation was unconvincing, however, given that the sighting occurred in daylight before any of the airport's lights were turned on. This prompted a second attempt from another FAA spokesperson, who suggested that the UFO was likely a misidentified weather phenomenon known as a hole-punched cloud. This explanation too did not stand up to reason, as journalist Leslie Kane soon discovered. Hole-punched clouds, formed when ice crystals from higher clouds fall down through a lower cloud shelf, punch a hole in it, and evaporate in the warm air below, only form in below freezing temperatures. The air at the altitude of the sighting on the day in question was 53 degrees Fahrenheit, well above freezing. What's more, the witnesses reported seeing the disc several minutes before the hole in the clouds, and the upward ascent of the alleged craft does not match the downward motion of the hole-punched cloud formation. In spite of the FAA's lack of interest, an independent UFO investigation group known as NARCAP conducted their own investigation of the O'Hare incident. A team of former NASA scientists, pilots, meteorologists, and aerospace engineers, among others, spent 5 months preparing a 154-page report that confirmed the presence of a physical object over O'Hare. The report, co-authored by NARCAP's founder, Dr. Richard Haynes, stated that the object's maneuvers could not be explained by conventional means, and its writers advised the FAA to launch their own investigation. To this day, the FAA has not done so. The sighting at O'Hare Airport is a well-supported and recent reminder that mass UFO sightings still occur, and that their witnesses still get stonewalled at all levels of government in their search for explanations. Hilkevitch, who is intimately familiar with the operating protocols of the FAA, stressed in his reporting just how unusual it was for the administration to ignore the sighting, even when the most minor incursions into restricted airspace are regularly pursued with interest. He affirmed that FAA investigations have been launched for incidents far less extraordinary, including spilled coffee pots in airport aisles. What's more, the nearly unanimous desire for silence or anonymity from witnesses suggests that there is still tremendous pressure on UFO witnesses to keep quiet about their experiences. Whether this is the result of a deliberate conspiracy to impede UFO research, or just a function of witnesses' fear of public ridicule, is difficult to determine, but the incident at O'Hare is a firm reminder. UFOs are real, and the public has not been made aware of the full extent of their presence. Perhaps, if the public and its elected representatives were more receptive to claims of UFO activity, then we would all have a much greater understanding of the phenomenon that haunts our skies.